Had a good conversation with the president on testing, and he's actually allowed New York State to start doing its own testing. But look, here's the big point. We have been behind on this disease from day one, okay? It was happening in China. We knew what was happening in China. We knew someone was going to get on an airplane and come to the United States of America. We've always been behind, right? They say don't fight the last war. We have to get ahead of this. Everybody talks about flattening the curve, and we're doing everything we can to flatten the curve, the testing, the density reduction, et cetera. I believe on any projection that flattening of the curve is not going to be enough. I don't see it as a curve, I see it as a wave. And the wave is going to crash onto our hospital system. Our hospital system does not have the capacity to deal with any of these projections. These people, Wolf, all need intensive care. They need ventilators. It's a respiratory illness. I already have 60 people in intensive care. I only have 600 available intensive care beds in the state of New York. We're already at 60. Now, a state cannot build hospitals in this period of time. We can use the Army Corps of Engineers to come in, retrofit dormitories, retrofit old facilities, and come up with medical facilities that could at least take some of the people out of hospital beds into these medical facilities to free up capacity. What happened in Italy was the healthcare system became overwhelmed. We will be overwhelmed. Every number says it. We were slow on testing. Let's not make the same mistake and sit here 6 weeks from now and say we should have been building more medical facilities because we left people on gurneys in the hallway. We just said the Nassau schools, Suffolk schools, Westchester schools were going to close. I said the New York City schools should close and must close. But in New York, it's not as easy as just saying close the schools. I want to make sure we have child care capacity for our essential workers. We need our first responders coming to work. It can't be that we close a school and the police officer calls up the next morning and says, I can't show up because I have to stay home with my child. So we do need to have child care. We do need to have the food programs in place. Many of the school children in New York get breakfast and lunch at school, but we have to close the schools. So we will be closing schools, New York City, Nassau, Suffolk, and Westchester County. That's all of downstate New York. And then we'll see what happens upstate New York. Curfew, that word makes me nervous. Wolf, I do believe we have already started having businesses reduce their capacity, reduce their size. I see that continuing. I could see setting a time for businesses to close earlier than usual. But curfew, depending on what you mean by that, it depends, but the word has a bad connotation to me. Governor Murphy's a good friend of mine. We work together, and it is very important that states coordinate these efforts, and that's why I'd like to see the federal government do more, because when every state, Wolf, comes up with their own policy, you just have people shop among states. New Jersey creates a curfew, I don't. Everybody will drive to New York, Connecticut does something, I don't. Everybody will drive to Connecticut. So that's why it would have been nice to have a federal government that really stepped up to the plate and said once and for all, this is what we're going to do. All schools, all stores of this size, et cetera. I do believe this is a federal role. None of these other countries, China, South Korea, Italy, none of them have done this with 100 different strategies from different states and local governments. This is a federal responsibility. Let local governments do the testing, make the set rules, make a decision on schools, make a decision on businesses, and get the Army Corps of Engineers building medical facilities. It's going to be too late, and we're going to regret that we never did it. You mark my words, Wolf. I could see businesses being closed over a period of time, right? I make my decisions based on science and based on data. So these are not political decisions to me. They're data-related decisions. As those numbers continue to go up, do you have to have more and more restrictions? Yes, you do.